All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. And so I've got a great show lined up for you guys today. I'm going to be going over several things that I think are very important to not only your health, but to your well-being, and hopefully give you guys some great ideas on what you can do to take your health to the next level. That's always my goal with this show, is to bring you guys the latest and greatest information from not only a scientific standpoint, but also from a ancestral wisdom standpoint, from a critical thinking standpoint, from a logical standpoint, and then give you guys action steps on what to do in order to be able to take your health to the next level. So some of the things I'm going to be going over today on our show, on this show of Wellness Radio, is I'm going to be going over a surprising scientific and tasty way to actually beat upper respiratory infection, according to a brand new systematic review of the literature and meta-analysis done by Oxford University. And I think it'll be pretty surprising for most of you guys. I'm also going to be going over what you should eat specifically to avoid issues with heart disease. This was another study that was actually done specifically in older women. And so it applies to men as well, and I'm going to be going over some of the most important things to eat to do that. And then the third thing I'm going to be going over on today's show is something like neurodegenerative diseases, is that preventable, right? And what does the science actually show? Are things like dementia, is that preventable? And if so, what can you do to prevent that? Because again, in today's world, and I see them in the clinic quite a bit, I have a lot of people that come in that are super worried about, going down the same pathway that their parents did, or going down the same pathway that their grandparents did. And really most people think that is just something that they're going to have to deal with one day, or that they're just going to wake up one day and forget, who their spouse is, and then that just happened to them. There was nothing that they could do to prevent that. And while I'm on that, so we're gonna dive into all that. But while I'm on that topic, I get so, a couple feelings. I get really, really sad, first of all. But then second, I get so angry when I hear, people talk about like things like autoimmune issues, or I hear them talk about things like heart disease or cancer or even diabetes. I hear them talk about it like it just happened to them. Like there was nothing that was, could have been prevented in those cases, it was just something that happened to them and they're going to have to live with it the rest of their life. And so let's say even if you do have to live with some of the damage from, let's say, a massive heart attack that you had or a stroke, you do have to live with some of the symptoms and some of the consequences of that. I've always been of the mindset that says, hey, you know what? No, I'm going to go after this thing as hard as I possibly can, and I'm going to try to improve my body, my mind, my heart, whatever it is, my immune system as best I can, and I am not going to fall victim, right? And yes, I am saying this is a victim mentality. I'm not going to fall victim to my quote-unquote diagnosis or disease. Dr. Rebecca was reading somebody that she comes across there, I guess it was like their Instagram page or something, and she was talking about Hashimoto's and how, she's gonna have to live like a shell of herself, and it's just not gonna, and I'm like, dude, what a sad way to think about that. And if you can develop something, then guess what that means? You can also get rid of it if you figure out the root cause of the problem. And I believe that 100%. I think if you develop something throughout life, right? I think that if you develop it and you figure out what is the root cause to why you develop that issue, why can't your body heal, right? Your body can heal. If you get a cut on your arm, your body can heal. If you break your leg, you make sure that the doctor sets it in place. But guess what? It's going to heal. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to tell it to do so. It does it on its own because you have an innate ability to heal within inside of every single one of your cells. And so don't take the victim mentality. Don't quit just because you have a disease or a diagnosis. Go after it. Figure out why. right? Kind of reverse engineer the process and say, why is that? And if you can't do it yourself, guess what? If you want that and you want the help, that's what Dr. Rebecca and I do. And again, that's what a lot of doctors across the United States do. We want to figure out the root cause to your health issues. There is a reason why your body is breaking down. There is a reason why you may be more susceptible to whatever virus is out there in our environment. There is a reason behind it. It is not random chance. Stop thinking that. Your body is intelligent and it adapts and it responds to its internal and external environment. And so when we can take ownership of our health, now we can make a change, right? If we take ownership, now we can make a change, all right? And that's the exciting part about this. So again, I want you guys to join me on that mission and take ownership of your health, right? So wherever you're at, if you have heart disease, if you're on 8 different medications, if you have an autoimmune disease, instead of saying, hey, I'm just a victim of what's happened to me, it just happened to me, it's bad luck. No, why don't you say, hey, you know what? Maybe some of my lifestyle choices played a role into the disease process that my body is dealing with, and not only played a role, but played the majority of the role in that process. So what can I do, right, to actually help my body to heal, and what can I do to restore health and wellness inside of my body? That's the mindset that I want for you guys. And so as we dive into the show, if you guys have any questions, join me live on Facebook, Drs. Warren, DRSWARREN on Facebook. Ask your questions as we go through this, guys. Even though I have certain topics that I'm going to talk about, again, if you want to chime in, if you want to tell us your health success story, things that worked for you, or if you have questions about your health, your child's health, your family's health, ask them here on Drs. Warren Live on Facebook. I love to be able to interact with you guys throughout this process. Now let's kind of dive into the first topic that I wanted to dive into. There was a new study that just came out, right? And it was something that I had seen in the past, but what they did is Oxford University they did what's called a systematic review of the literature, and it was a meta-analysis. They actually broke down, the studies that they found were significant in this realm, in this topic. And so what the studies looked at is what is the efficacy of utilizing honey for upper respiratory infection. Now, I will have to say, man, I hope that Facebook doesn't shut me down for quote unquote fact checking, even though this is a fact. I'm quoting a study by Oxford University that was a systematic review of the literature, including a couple randomized clinical trials. But again, nobody ever likes to talk about actual alternative treatment, and should I say real treatment for things like upper respiratory infection. But anyway, when they looked at these, they actually saw that something like honey, not only was it shown to be equivocal or even better than things like antibiotics for upper respiratory infection, but they also showed that honey seemed to cut off 1 to 3 days of upper respiratory infection symptoms. So that means 1 to 3 days utilizing honey. And so, honey's one of those that again is a pretty amazing thing that I'm so thankful that God gave us on this planet, because it's, number one, it can last literally like forever, right? We found things like crystallized honey, even in things like Egyptian tombs. And again, these are things that even though the honey crystallized, guys, it's something that still is consumable, right? And so honey's an amazing thing. It's antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial. It is antimicrobial across the board and has some amazing healing properties. It even contains some amazing things like minerals and some vitamins in it as well. So I love utilizing something like raw honey. Now that's where I wanted to expand on the actual study itself. So they looked at the benefits of just honey, and they actually list out, some of the actual honeys they use in the studies and which ones they are. I couldn't find a study that was in there that actually used something like raw something like raw honey, and take it a step further, something like raw Manuka honey, which again is something that seems to have more of the antimicrobial properties in it and more of the immune boosting properties in it as well. So, again, this is something that's important to note because, these are things that have been around really since the beginning of time, but because we think we're all high and mighty with our science that we have nowadays, we think that we know so much more about our health than what our ancestors knew. And I would actually say, I think we're actually behind what our ancestors knew. Just look at the rate of chronic disease. And somebody may say, well, what about infectious disease? And I say, look at our world right now and the fear that we're taking right now with an infectious disease that actually overall has not even killed a significant part of our population. And again, we've shut down everything because of it. So I would say our response to infectious disease isn't even better than what our ancestors did long ago. And so from that standpoint, what are some of the things that took us to the next level? I don't know, maybe things like modern plumbing and not throwing your poop out the window into the streets and not, sanitation, those type of things have made a big difference in our society. But our knowledge on what to do about, disease and dysfunction really overall, it hasn't improved that much. They can save you if you cut your leg really deep, and they can emergency room. They can save your life there. There's no doubt about it. But again, when you look at things like 2 million Americans are hospitalized or damaged from properly prescribed medications on a yearly basis, 106,000 Americans die from properly prescribed medication. 54% increase in the rate of autoimmunity in our children over the last 5 to 10 years. Again, guys, is our health much better? I would say probably not, despite we think that we're this scientific, just giant in history. And I would say, man, we've lost some of the ancestral wisdom there. So honey can be an amazing, and this is a quote from the study from Oxford University, can be an amazing alternative and equivocal to antibiotic treatment, according to Oxford University studies. So make sure that you use those. So stock up your home, like things like raw Manuka honey is a great one, especially for kids, man. Getting them to do that. How much better is that for their digestive system, for their gut microbiome? Utilizing something like raw Manuka honey or utilizing raw local honey is a fantastic thing to do. And you can do it like a teaspoon. You can mix it into, I don't like to mix it into hot tea very often, just because again, if it's hot tea, it's no longer going to have some of its raw properties depending on the temperature that the water's at. So again, I like to do it, straight in from the spoon. You can put it on, some of your kids' foods or something like goat smoked yogurt. You can do some of the fun stuff like that and get it into your kids whenever they're having something like an upper respiratory infection, which we will see probably go up as we hit more into the fall and the winter months. So now I got to take a quick break here on Wellness Radio. But just like always, if you guys are looking for help to take your health to the next level, if you want help, whether it's with Dr. Rebecca or myself, whether it's a virtual appointment or whether it's actually in our office doing something like structural corrective chiropractic care, functional medicine, and functional wellness, or if you want to take your gut health to the next level, hormone health to the next level, again, guys, you can give. Our girls are standing by. That number is 423-362-5360. Again, that's 362-5360, or you can go on our website, doctorswarren.com, DRSWARREN.com, and you can check us out there. There's a way that you can actually sign up for an appointment on there as well, and it kind of guides you through some of the information. If you want to just learn more about us, go to that website as well too. So again, guys, this is Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. I'll be right back after the break. All right, guys, welcome on Facebook Live. Mallory says, how often would you take the honey if you had a suspected infection? Let's see, Mallory, I would probably do, especially like during an infection, I would probably do it maybe every like 3 hours that I was awake. If I were going to use honey as a primary, alternative treatment there. So probably every 2 to 3 hours that I was awake, I would do like a teaspoon of raw honey. And again, just kind of allowing the body to get in those antimicrobial properties. That would be what I would suggest. And again, it's kind of fun, right? Because honey tastes great. It's one that's easy to give to kids as well. But I would really, again, like I said earlier, I think raw Manuka honey is a much better like kind of overall bang for your buck. Just its immune properties and everything. Now I know like raw Manuka honey is expensive, so again, don't like get raw Manuka honey and like put it all over your food and stuff. It should be used medicinally, unless you want to and you've got all the money, to spend on it that you want. Then you can do that if you want. But again, we use it medicinally at our home. So we have some raw Manuka honey that we kind of keep up, in the shelf, kind of in a darker place there, at our home. And then if we're going to use some raw honey to like sweeten our food or to utilize, in something like, we like to put it in like kefir or goat's milk yogurt, or sometimes we have like base culture, like their paleo keto bread. We'll do some nut butter on there with some raw honey. We'll use like a local honey that we get from the local farmers market here. So anyway, so hopefully that helped. And how cool is that we can actually utilize something like that comes naturally from our earth, that is scientifically now proven to do that. A couple other things I will say about honey as well. Utilizing something like raw honey is a great thing to actually utilize on cuts, right, and scrapes. I would say the only thing is, you can get honey, it can be sticky everywhere. So if you want, like, let's say your child skins their knee, you can put some raw honey actually over that wound. And then you can put like, maybe a bandage over the top. So that way you're not getting honey everywhere. But raw honey has actually even been shown to kill certain types of bacteria, even like antibiotic resistant bacteria. Yes, studies have shown that, honey can even do things like kill certain types of MRSA and staph infection, right? So honey is a phenomenal tool for us to utilize. Now, I know there's also ways that I think you can even like infuse honey, so you can even, take it a step further. One of the things that I've done with myself in the past, I've even done it with with Elijah, and he actually did really well with it, is I would actually chop up some garlic, which again, you guys know that garlic is highly antiviral, antifungal, and antibacterial as well. So chopped it up and put it actually in some honey, and he just took it and swallowed it. You just tell them don't chew it, unless they want like a mouthful of garlic and their eyes watering. So that being said, you get two major powerful things, and that's from food. How cool is that? That you can actually utilize food in an amazing way to get your body into an overall health state. So hopefully that helped. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren, and so I am here talking all about some of the cool things that science is showing now, and that ancestral wisdom has shown literally for thousands of years. I talked about a study out of Oxford University showing that honey was an equivocal treatment, and even in some of the studies shown in the systematic review of the literature, beat out antibiotics for upper respiratory infection. So again, utilizing things like raw Manuka honey is a great way to really utilize, especially as we're getting into the fall and into the winter. One other way that I will say that I think is kind of a cool little biohack, and I've talked about it before, is especially if you're somebody that wakes up like more in the middle of the night, if you find out like you're that person that seems to be able to go to sleep pretty well, but you can't stay asleep very well, try like a teaspoon of raw honey before you go to bed, and see if that helps to stabilize the blood sugar as you go to sleep. And again, that's a little biohack that you can use to actually get into a little bit deeper sleep, have some melatonin release as well, but utilize like maybe a teaspoon of raw honey. If you want to use it more for allergies and sinus issues, again, get with a local, like somebody who locally raises bees in a healthy and sustainable way, right? Ask them the way that they do it. And if it's somebody that does it the right way, they'll be super excited to tell you about their process, and get it from a local, like kind of like a local farmer. or a local beekeeper. And then what you do is you take that raw local honey and you can take it, and it really helps to kind of train the immune system and get the body ready again for different types of things that we're going to breathe in as we hit more into like, the fall or the spring, or, whenever you have some of those seasonal allergies. And just kind of a really cool hack to go along with that, if you utilize a couple drops of different essential oils. So if you utilize like a drop of peppermint essential oil, excuse me, or if you utilize like a drop of, like I use like 1 drop of peppermint essential oil, and then like 2 drops of like a citrus essential oil. So like maybe like an orange peel essential oil. Again, the orange and citrus essential oil actually contains things like quercetin and some other like natural antihistamine properties, whereas the peppermint essential oil really helps to like open up the sinuses. So doing that before bed, you really are able to breathe really, really well, and actually you lower the inflammatory process in the actual sinus cavity as well too. So that's something that you guys can utilize at home if you suffer with things like seasonal allergies. Again, honey is such a fantastic way to incorporate, and it's a yummy way to incorporate into your overall lifestyle as well. Now, as far as the next topic that I wanted to go over, another recent study actually showed, so they were looking at women, and they were looking at things like calcification score, which again is, if you look at like the calcium, the calcium score, when it comes to your heart, it's actually one of the gold standard tests to see how much like plaque and how much basically atherosclerotic, tissue is built up in the heart itself. So finding out that calcium score is a gold standard. But what they did is they looked at what were some of the things that seem to, trend in the way of helping these older women prevent heart disease. And one of the number one things that they found is the overall consumption of cruciferous vegetables, right? So cruciferous vegetables. So again, I've talked about this before on this show, but not specifically with this topic here. So cruciferous vegetables are one of those that number one is a staple in our household. And again, we try to do, what's in season, but every now and then, when cruciferous vegetables, I guess, are not necessarily in season, we'll still sneak them in there into our diet just because we love them so much. But anyway, things like Brussels sprouts, things like cauliflower, things like broccoli, and I think even kale might fall into that category, but I could be wrong too. So don't yell at me if I'm wrong about that. But I think that's also in that category. But anyway, things like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, these are phenomenal things to consume on a regular basis. And so at our house, we like to actually, again, most of these we cook them. Now every now and then we'll let like what we may have like Elijah and them like to chew on. Like they'll eat some of it raw sometimes as well too, which is actually really good for building up the jaw. Again, some raw veggie consumption with kids is a great thing to build up the strength of the jaw and to really, build up that overall jaw shape and the palate shape and everything. So don't be afraid to let your kids, consume some of those really crunchy raw veggies, and again, kind of chew on some of those things to build up the strength of the jaw. But anyway, cruciferous vegetables are amazing. So they're loaded with some of the most amazing plant compounds out there. Some of my favorite ones are things like its containment of indole-3 carbinol, and also something called sulforaphane. And the highest amount of sulforaphane is found in broccoli sprouts. But again, there's some amazing properties that actually help the body to get rid of things like xenoestrogens or estrogen mimicking molecules that come from our environment, right? So, when you go into like a place of business, or maybe some of you guys at your house, if it's loaded with things like carpet, if you just recently painted and didn't use a no VOC paint, if you're drinking out of plastic all the time, these are things that can mimic estrogen in the body, and they're called xenoestrogens. These estrogen mimicking molecules will disrupt your endocrine system. They will disrupt your hormones. And so what we want to do is we want to consume, foods that actually help our body in the process of getting rid of those. So we know that even things like consuming, foods that are higher in sulforaphane or higher in things like, a DIM and indole 3-carbinol, what ends up happening is your body is able to then get rid of those estrogen mimicking molecules at a higher rate. When you do that, you're able to see amazing benefits with that. You're able to see hormone balance. You're able to not see, especially in men, you're not seeing like some estrogen dominant effects and low testosterone. In women, again, women that have, hormone imbalance, especially like, too much xenoestrogens, that can lead to things like breast cancer or ovarian cancer, or even things like fibrocystic breast tissue. So we want to be able to get rid of those xenoestrogens, and utilizing cruciferous vegetables is a great way to do it. And this study was showing even helping with the prevention of heart issues in women. So again, consume those cruciferous vegetables on a regular basis and make them fun, man. You don't have to like sit there and gnaw on a thing of broccoli, but like at home, we surround all of these, especially when you find some of these phytonutrients in vegetables, we want to surround those by fat, right? Fat molecules will actually help with the absorption of some of these amazing plant compounds. So, put something like grass-fed butter, on your broccoli. It makes it taste better, and it's also going to help to deliver some of those phytonutrients, again, into your cell, because it'll be surrounded by fat. Put something like, raw organic extra virgin olive oil, which is one of the most amazing things that you can do as well. So again, guys, I've got to go on break here. But as I go on break, if you guys think of any questions, whether it's dealing with, maybe it's about honey, maybe it's about upper respiratory infection with kids or yourself, maybe it's about cruciferous vegetables, whatever that is, again, you guys can comment here on Facebook. I am live at Doctors Warren, DRSWARREN. You can go like and follow our page. Also, if you like the information we're doing, please share it. We always ask that you guys share the information so that way we can get this information out. You know how many kids are loading up on antibiotics on a regular basis because of things like upper respiratory infection, and especially some of the less severe ones that really, they're destroying their microbiome, destroying their gut, leading to other types of autoimmune issues, leading to other types of, chances of getting a worse upper respiratory infection, things like ear infections, all of these things. So share this information so that people are able to hear the truth about health and healing. And if you want our help, Dr. Rebecca or myself, again, you can give the girls a call. That number is 423-362-5360. Again, 362-5360, or go on our website, doctorswarren.com, DRSWARREN.com. Read more about us, get to know us, learn something from our blog posts, check out some of our YouTube videos. They're all on our website there at doctorswarren.com. This is the Wellness Radio. I will be right back after the break. All right, guys, let me do something really quick. I'm in my office and my light just went off for some reason. I guess it's on a timer, so 1 second here. There we go. It's always so annoying. I hate lights that are on a timer. It just bugs me. All right, let's see. It looks like we got a question here from Eliza. Thinking of sending my daughter to daycare again. What should we give to boost the immune system? She's 2. All right, so here's what I would do. So 2 years old, number one, I would definitely make sure utilize some of the great immune boosting herbs that are out there. So keep it really simple. So one product that we like to use with the kids in our office and the kids that are in my kids at home is something called Immunoberry by Designs for Health. So Immunoberry by Designs for Health, and the reason I say use that one is because it's got 118 servings in it. So it's it's a bottle like this. So again, very, very high in its serving content, but it's loaded with some amazing immune boosting herbs. So it's got things like echinacea in it. It has some elderberry in it. It has some medicinal mushrooms like maitake and shiitake mushroom extract in it. It also has astragalus, which is absolutely phenomenal at helping to train the immune system, excuse me, and balance the child's Th1 and Th2 immune system. So I love, things with astragalus in it. It's also got some upper respiratory support in it with some wild cherry bark extract in it as well. So all of those things are in one, right? So I really, really love that one. That's something that you could give your daughter to really help boost her immune system. If you go on our website, doctorswarren.com, Eliza, if you go on that website and you can actually find Immunoberry on there. It's by Designs for Health. And it is phenomenal for your daughter. It's one that you can even do as well. And again, if she were to, come down with some type of, if she did get sick, then what you do is support the body during that. So you can give her something like, you can do the Immunoberry like up to 3 times a day with her and really help to boost her immune system. A couple other things that I would say as well when it comes to kids' health, is number one, make sure that they're getting some vitamin D on a regular basis. So obviously the best way to do that is getting them outside as much as you possibly can. Man, let them get their hands dirty, take them on hikes so that they're able to, be in different environments where they're actually building up their microbiome. So vitamin D is a primary component of that. Now, not just vitamin D, there's like a vitamin D and K complex that you can get. Again, you can get it in kids formulation as well, where it's super easy and deliverable, even in drops. That's a great way to keep her immune system, built up as well. Again, I just talked about raw honey. You can use some raw honey with her. That's kind of a fun thing to do that I'm sure that she'll like quite a bit. And then the final thing I'll say is, protect her gut, right? In a world where there's so much out there that really wreaks havoc on our immune system, specifically on our gut health, which is where about 80% of our immune system lies, protect the gut. So some of the things I like to do with kids specifically is keep it simple. So number one, utilize something like Ion Biome, which again, it used to be called Restore, if you've ever heard of that one, but it's called Ion Biome now. And it's simply just like, it's like a mineral, like water. That's what it looks like, right? We tell our kids it's like magic dirt water, but anyway, it helps to close up the tight junctions of the gut and really protect her gut overall. And then when she's in different environments where she's picking up different microbes and bacteria, that Restore or Ion Biome, it's really helping with also communication with your cells and the bacteria. So it helps to build up a healthy environment. The other thing that I love about it is at daycare, she may get her hands on maybe treats that you don't want her to have, that maybe have like glyphosate in it, genetically modified ingredients. Well, guess what? This will actually help to do that, to actually prevent that from happening. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren, and we've been here talking all things health. We've went over how honey is a superfood for upper respiratory infection, according to Oxford University's systematic review of the literature. Then we went over how cruciferous vegetables, again, according to a recent study done on thousands of women, showed to decrease the risk of heart disease. And then here on Facebook, we just went over some things that you can do to boost your child's immune system. The question was going to daycare, what can we do to boost the immune system? So again, if you want a recap of all this, go on Doctors Warren on Facebook, like and follow our page, and you can always go back and listen to it over again. And then we also repost it as well on our website, doctorswarren.com. And we actually have our whole archive of past radio shows and podcasts on our doctorswarren.com that you guys can go to and listen to pretty much any topic that you can imagine. At this point, we've done hundreds of them. So it's literally been across the span of, I want to say almost 3 years of doing this. So again, you can go there and listen to that. So the third topic I wanted to go over today was, again, I think for a lot of people, this would fall under the quote unquote controversial, area, just because it's such a sensitive subject, is neurodegenerative diseases. And understanding that, yes, according to a study that was actually analyzing thousands. So I think this study analyzed 78,000 different people for this study. And what they found is that according to the study, up to 50% or possibly even greater, I would be probably put it between, maybe 80 to 90%. But anyway, this study said at least 50% of neurodegenerative diseases can be prevented based on lifestyle, right? And so, this is one that's controversial mainly because, this is a devastating, disease, especially when we're talking about dementia. Or if we're talking about neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's. And so, some people may say, oh, no, that's just, it's bad luck. It just happens to people. I would say that's just not true. There's certain things that trigger, right? You may be genetically predisposed to a disease like this, but we know it's not your genes that pull the trigger on what's turned on and turned off or what's expressed and not expressed. It's your environment, right? So it's the environment that you put your body in, and it's in the environment that you create on the inside that determines what genes are expressed and what genes are not expressed. And so, what are some of the primary things that we see that affect, the way our brain, is actually functioning? And one of the things that I talked about just a second ago, Eliza, as I was talking about boosting your daughter's immune system, is the importance of keeping the microbiome and keeping the gut in good health. We know that a leaky gut also leads to a leaky brain, right? We know that a damaged gut equals a damaged brain. You cannot have just one or the other. They are directly connected, and they're connected in several different ways, but specifically with, looking at like the vagus nerve is a perfect example of that. Let's see, we had a comment. My grandmother's dementia was triggered by her diabetes and blood pressure. Exact words from the doctor. Yeah, thanks for that input. That's two other things I was about to go over too. So I think that's so true, and it's sad because think how many Americans out there right now are dealing with not either diabetes or pre-diabetes. An estimation of pre-diabetes in the United States is upwards to 88 million adults in the United States of America are walking around with pre-diabetes. What does that mean? That's basically damaging your cells and your metabolic processes. You just haven't been given the exact diagnosis of diabetes yet, but you're on your way to that. So you're still building dysfunction and disease inside of your cells. That's also why they call, something like diabetes, or that's why they call something like, dementia, they can call it, type 3 diabetes, because over time, metabolic issues, years down the road, it does damage the brain. It has an effect on the brain. So metabolic health has an effect on the brain. Your gut microbiome has an effect on the brain. We know that things like toxins has an effect on the brain. So hang on just 1 second. I'm going to tell you this right now. There's this major push for everybody, right? Because of what's going on, in our world today. There's this major push for everybody, to have the flu jab, right? We got to go out and get the flu jab. Now, pharmacists can give it across the United States, which is a whole nother major issue that we can, allow somebody who does not know literally anything about your health as an individual can now give, a pharmaceutical biologic to you or your child, which is a whole nother major issue. It doesn't mean that the pharmacists aren't brilliant. I'm not saying that. Actually, we've got several pharmacists that we take care of in our office that are brilliant people. But guess what? They think the same way that we do, right? They think the exact same way that we do. They think it's absolutely ludicrous that we are allowing that to happen across the board. But they are pushing the flu jab so much because they say, oh, this is going to, between the flu and between SARS-CoV-2, we got to make sure that we're that we're really protecting each other. And here's the bottom line, guys. We look at something like a Department of Defense, DOD study, right, that was published earlier this year, actually looked at, I think it was like around 3,000 military individuals, and it actually showed a over 30% greater risk of complications from SARS-CoV-2 if they were given the flu jab. And so bottom line is, at least from what I'm seeing, that sounds again, maybe not like the best idea out there for you. So you may want to rethink that. And so you, again, utilize things that we know can help. But why did I get on that topic? Because when you're looking at something like, the flu jab, here's what you have to understand is that it contains, yes, the multi-vial dose, the one that has the vials that contain multi-doses in it, which is the majority of what the population is going to get, still contains thimerosal. And I know their argument of, well, ethyl mercury is not methyl mercury, so the way it's absorbed in the body is different. That's because you don't observe it the way it's meant to be observed, which the reason why you don't see ethyl mercury actually in the bloodstream itself when you test, whether it's individuals or animals, is because that ethyl mercury is very easily combined with other forms of mercury, and majority of adults, especially elderly adults, have things like amalgam fillings in their mouth. It actually creates almost an immediate absorption into your nervous system. So we're talking into the brain, into deeper tissues of the body, which is why when you test, you don't always see it in the bloodstream. So putting something like, thimerosal, a mercury derivative, into your bloodstream is probably not a good idea. And I would call that scientifically stupid, all right? So I probably wouldn't do that. And while I'm on the subject, I'm talking about it because that is a primary issue when it comes to neurodegenerative diseases, are these heavy metals and toxins. Guys, our bodies are riddled with them at this point. They're generational toxins that are passed down, we know, from mother to baby over generations. Something like mercury, aluminum, things like lead. These are 4th-generation toxins, which means that even if in your lifetime you are not directly exposed to mercury, lead, or aluminum, they can be passed down from mother to baby and from grandmother to mother and great-grandmother to grandmother. So that being said, yes, the accumulation of that in the brain, which has been extensively studied, will affect the way the brain functions, specifically in the realm of mercury and aluminum. All right. And so that's something that we want to make sure that, number one, we're getting it out of our lifestyle in any possible way that we can. And so it's like you're going to trade the flu, right? Taking care of yourself at home, resting, doing some of the things that we talk about on this radio show, supplement with vitamin D and some herbs that help to boost the immune system, maybe even utilizing honey, raw honey. You're gonna sacrifice those things, in order to, inject something like mercury directly in the bloodstream, or inject things like formaldehyde, which is in there. And yes, you probably have heard of formaldehyde before, and other, just cocktail of preservatives and inert objects. That's what they call inert, right? That's also what Monsanto did too. They called them inert until now they've been sued for billions of dollars for damages caused by their inert, quote unquote safe, proprietary blend of ingredients. But anyway, I've got to go on break, guys. This is Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. If you want our help in the office or virtually, again, we do virtual appointments as well. Or if you want to come in and see us, maybe you have something like low back pain, neck pain, headaches. Maybe you have something like hormone imbalance, gut dysfunction. Maybe you're just sick of being put on more medication by your medical doctor. Maybe you're like, man, nobody's trying to figure out root cause. That's what we do in our clinic, both Dr. Rebecca and myself. So you can give the girls a call and set up that appointment. That number is 423-362-5360, 362-5360, or you can go on doctorswarren.com and you can set up an appointment there, doctorswarren.com. Guys, this is Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. I'll be right back after the break. All right, guys. So, again, I couldn't help but get sidetracked there for just a second because it absolutely disturbs me that that's the information that's put out there. Again, be informed with the decisions that you make. At least from my perspective, doing things that are more, number one, more, more cost effective, more, more safe for your body, your immune system, things like that. Then going out and getting the flu jab is doing something like just keep your vitamin D levels up. Make sure that you're getting plenty of good healthy minerals. Make sure that again, you're getting plenty of good sleep and exercise, right? Live your life different than everybody else, guys. You don't have to do the same things that everybody else is doing. you can be, live against the grain. That's always the best thing. That's always the best thing to do overall. So I'm just checking from my chat here just to make sure, because I know we're about to end the show. Okay, so anyway, guys, make sure that you're making informed decisions, and we will be doing some more videos on this as as things continue to develop, because I know, as all of you guys know, that's going to be something that they're going to push pretty hardcore over the next few months. And I don't know about you, but I still want control of my own body, and I would like to be able to make informed decisions on my children's health and their bodies and what we do with them. So at least from a Doctors Warren perspective, both Dr. Beck and I, we fight for medical freedom. If we lose our own medical freedom, you have lost all other freedoms. It is done. Why? Because if you lose the ability to choose what you do with your own body, guys, you have lost all of your freedoms, period, right? And we already know a lot of those freedoms are being taken away as we speak. Yes, surprisingly, in the United States, we have, pastors being persecuted for trying to keep their churches open. We have, people, getting ridiculed for trying to keep their businesses open, even though that is literally their livelihood, for their family to survive, for their family to thrive. We have people being ridiculed for that. So, we have people being censored left and right on social media. And it's such a crazy thing, crazy world we live in. So we believe in medical freedom overall, medical freedom for every single person, so that you can choose, right? You can choose what you want to do for your own body, for your own health, and for your kids' health. All right. Now, as far as some of the other let me dive back into neurodegenerative, issues, because I think this is important, because neurodegenerative issues, unfortunately, doesn't just, affect our elderly population. We know that some of these neurological issues also affect our kids, right? So we have, an unbelievable amount of kids with things like, autism, ADD, ADHD, things that deal with like schizophrenia, bipolar, issues with, even things like young women developing things like MS. So we know that there's a lot of different neurological issues that also affect younger people. And so, again, the same rules apply to them as well, right? We know that making sure that a child's diet is not loaded with preservatives and junk, and it's not loaded with all kinds of processed sugar, that they're eating real food, right? And yes, if maybe you have a child that suffers with one of those, I would recommend, starting on the journey. It's not going to be perfect, but starting on the journey of like a ketogenic diet, right? In a healthy way. And we can talk about that in just a minute. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I'm your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren, and we've been talking, a lot about different, health topics today. So we went over how honey is amazing for your health and upper respiratory infection, according to an Oxford University study, how cruciferous vegetables can actually help, prevent something like heart disease. Specifically, this study was looking at women, elderly women, and had a major effect on their prevention of heart disease. And also now we're talking about neurodegenerative diseases, and how several studies have showed that 50% or greater can be prevented by lifestyle choices. And so earlier on in this last segment, I talked about how metabolic issues, so diabetes, blood sugar, and insulin balance is a major player in the development of neurodegenerative diseases, as well as heavy metals and certain toxins, including things like mold. Guys, you want to talk about one that mimics things like dementia and Alzheimer's-like conditions, or even mimics things like Parkinson's-like syndrome, is mold toxicity. Mold. If you can't find the problem, and maybe you're weight loss resistant, maybe you have something like fibromyalgia, maybe you have pain all over the body, maybe you have issues with chronic sinus and allergy issues, migraine headaches, and you've made all of these other lifestyle changes, look for mold. Get an ERMI test done. But guys, mold, man, I got to do a whole show on mold, guys. It can absolutely ruin your life. So we've got to make sure there's ways that you can, mitigate that as well. I actually posted and talked about that in our Wellness Academy, Doctors Warren Wellness Academy that we have, because it's such an important topic. And I'm going to be diving in, actually making a course on mold and mold toxicity. But these are all factors that affect the way our brain works. So we have to protect our brain. So again, top 3 things you can do right now to help your brain and prevent, neurodegenerative diseases. Number 1, ketogenic diet. We talk about it on this show a lot, but a healthy form of ketogenic diet, and you can decide which one at which spectrum you're going to be on. Some people love doing like more of a plant-based ketogenic diet, and that's phenomenal. Or you can do more of a good high quality animal-based ketogenic diet and animal fat-based ketogenic diet. Both of them are absolutely amazing, but getting in all of those amazing healthy fats on a regular basis, decreasing the amount of carbohydrates and sugar that you're bringing into your body, will do an amazing job of protecting the brain. Number 2, start removing toxins out of your environment. And then number 3, make sure that you are getting appropriate rest and sleep to help get the brain recovered and remove toxins out of the brain. So again, guys, this has been Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. If you want our help, 423-362-5360, 362-5360. Grab an appointment or go on doctorswarren.com and check us out there. We'll see you guys next Saturday on Wellness Radio. All right, guys. So again, as you dive into, removing some of these toxins, I want to make a statement with that, because I know that can be such an overwhelming process. Start small and kind of work your way out. Make sure that you're taking care of your home environment first, right? The environment that you're living in. So maybe it's something as simple as going and clearing out, the plastic that you guys have. Maybe it's plastic utensils or cups or plates. Yeah, it's time to get rid of those things. Especially in the realm of kids, there's so many other things you can use, like little stainless steel plates or bamboo, plates. There's all kinds of cool stuff that you can use now instead, or glass. Utilize those type of materials instead. So start cleaning out your home environment. Make sure that you don't have any toxic materials as well in the, make sure that you don't have any toxic materials in your like cleaning cabinet. Make sure that when you run your dishwasher, I usually tell people to use a non-toxic dishwasher detergent and run it, when you're not in the house. Run it when you run out of the house. Why? Because so many dishwashers are loaded with plastic when it's heated, and when it's heated up, guys, it vaporizes. That's why you see all that steam coming out of your dishwasher, and that goes into your atmosphere. So guess what? Run it when you go to work. That's one simple way to reduce toxicity in the house. Get you an air filter, right? Something like Air Doctor is one that we use both in our home, and we use it, in our office as well. But there's other ones out there too, like Molecule is a great one that you can use with a K, Molecule with a K. So, clear out the air that you're breathing in. Water, right? Again, make sure that you're filtering your water, not just a refrigerator filter. Actually utilize a good quality filter. We've talked about that on the show before, but the water you drink, the air you breathe, the environment that you're in is really going to have the biggest impact on the amount of toxins that you're bringing in to the body overall. And then you can start the process of removing it, out of the body. You can do something like, I know in our office, even if you want to do it at home, you can always let us know. You can do something like True Cellular Detox. It's something that you can do right from home and start removing some toxins in a safe and effective way, to really at a cellular level, right, is a great thing to do. But again, remove it from your environment first, and that's a major, major player in preventing things like neurodegenerative diseases. So again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. Again, if you have any questions, that's why we're here. We're walking on this journey with you guys. Remember, health is not about perfection. It's about pursuit, right? So even when we jump off the wagon with our health, guess what? You don't have to beat yourself up. You don't have to get upset. You just jump right back on, because it's a lifestyle, right? That's what health is. Health is about pursuit. It's not about perfection. And again, guys, we're here for you guys. We love you guys. Share our information, please, because we always love to be able to reach more people. But we appreciate you guys very, very much. And I hope you guys have a wonderful and amazing weekend. I'll see you later.